Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more videos on lesson content.
Got no place to be, got no place to go. Come hang out with me on the Mr. Flanders Show.
Good morning, everybody. Mr. Flanders here, back at it for week 5 of our habitat lessons in science. And you'll notice this week we are starting a new habitat. We are starting the forest habitat. Okay? I know many of my friends have probably been to a forest before. I know I've talked to you guys about Flagstaff before and how much I love going up there because it's surrounded by forests and is basically just a town built in a forest. So yeah, I mean, we all know forests have trees. They're oftentimes cooler than, places that don't have trees, just because usually there's like a higher elevation. That means that you can find them higher up in land. But yeah, I think let's go ahead and start moving on to this stuff. I can give you some information about location, weather, plants, and animals, and we can begin our work on forests. So, our location. Most deciduous, that means leaves that fall annually. So all of these forests have trees that have leaves that fall annually. That means like every few months. Okay. So location. Most deciduous forests are located in the eastern United States, Canada, Europe, China, Japan, and parts of Russia. Okay. Weather. This habitat has 4 changing seasons, including winter, spring, summer, and fall. Deciduous forests also have quite a wet environment. That means they trap more moisture. Plants. Deciduous trees are trees with leaves rather than pine needles, and they dominate temperate forests. As the seasons change each year, so do the leaves. Each year, deciduous trees lose their leaves and grow them back. See, that's a way better definition of deciduous than I gave you. Alright, and let's look at the last part. Animals. They must be able to cope with the changing of seasons. Some animals hibernate or migrate during the winter to escape the cold. Animals that live here include bears, squirrels, raccoons, deer, birds, snakes, and frogs. I really like that they included the idea of hibernation in their explanation here. And the best example of an animal I can give you for that hibernates, that means it sleeps for a long period of time during usually the winter, is a bear. Bears usually love to hibernate just because during the winter months there's not as many animals out. It's really harder for them to go find food. So their bodies actually shut down in a way. So they can store their energy and come out in the spring ready to begin anew, go back out on the hunt, go find new places to be, new animals to hang out with. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff. So that is our information sheet for forests, though. And I'm going to go ahead and move this out of your way, and we're going to look at our first worksheet for the week. And it is just a forest information sheet. You'll notice it says location, weather, plants, and animals. Okay? Your job for this worksheet, as always, is to take the information from each of these categories on the sheet that we just read and plug in some information here. So your location, well, I mean, you could put United States, you could put Canada, you could put Europe. That's all the places that were listed on our info sheet here. Okay? For the weather, you can write that it experiences all 4 seasons. That means it gets summer, winter, fall, spring. All right? You could say that they're usually pretty wet, or they do get wet often. For plants, we could talk about how the deciduous trees have leaves rather than pine needles. So you're not going to see like Christmas trees up there. And then animals, okay? Animals, we just talked about that a second ago. One of the best animals I could say that lives in the forest is bears, because they hibernate during the wintertime up in the forests. But you also have frogs, snakes, birds, things like that. Okay, so you're just going to write down, I would say, 3 locations here, maybe the 4 seasons here, summer, winter, fall, spring. The plants, give me just a little bit of information here about the deciduous trees that you'll find, okay? And then animals, give me 3 animals you'll find in the forest. And if you're doing this in your paper packet, I want you to draw a picture of a forest here after you're done. If you are doing this on Google Classroom, feel free to maybe post a couple pictures of a forest here. It's entirely up to you, okay? So that is your first worksheet. It is just you taking the information that you heard in the info packet or passage that I read and making this worksheet reflect that. The second worksheet is all about the forest. Okay? You're going to write 1 fact about the forest, just 1 fact. You're going to tell me what it looks like. And then over here, you're going to tell me who lives there. Okay? If you're doing this in Google Classroom, there are text boxes here that you can type in. If you are doing this at home, you can draw a picture of what it looks like and who lives there. Okay? Then, after that, our last worksheet is an info sheet with questions. So I will read you the info sheet and then go over the questions with you. So, the forest. This habitat has 4 changing seasons, including winter, spring, summer, and fall. Okay, those are the 4 seasons I was telling you about. Deciduous forests also have a wet environment. Deciduous trees are trees with leaves instead of pine needles. So remember, they have leaves. They're not like a Christmas tree. Some animals hibernate or migrate during the winter to escape the cold. Animals that live here include bears, squirrels, raccoons, deer, birds, snakes, and frogs. Very good. All right. So that is your info for our questions here on this side. We're going to read the questions now. How many seasons does this habitat have? Okay, that's pretty easy. I've said it quite a few times, and you will find it right here in the first part of our worksheet here. So how many seasons does this habitat have? Number 2, what are deciduous trees? Again, you're going to find this information in here, and you'll probably find it right in this area right here. Okay? Remember, deciduous trees have one thing instead of another. Okay? And then number 3, name 3 animals that live here. That's easy. You guys have already done that on another worksheet. You should be able to do that here. Okay, name 3 animals that live here. I'll give you 1. It is bears. And if you need more, feel free to look at the bottom of the page here. It'll help you out. Other than that, my friends, that is basically it for our forest habitat this week. We will probably go over a couple more concepts for the forest next week, but I really like what I've been seeing with you guys with these habitats. You guys have been doing really good with them. I really enjoy the fact that you guys seem to be really paying attention, really focusing on this material. I'm proud of you guys. But on that note, I'm going to get running. I'm going to prep for our next lesson, which will be our social studies. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Hey everyone, Mr. Flanders back at it with you guys. Right now we are getting ready to look at our social studies for the week. We have 3 worksheets we're doing, 2 of which will continue with our geography lesson from last week, and 1 which will start a new lesson in economics. Okay? For now, let's go ahead and look at geography. Now remember, geography has to do with placement and maps and things of that nature, and we're going to continue looking at the classroom setting. Now, in this classroom setting, you'll notice that there's a few different things throughout the class. You've got your desks where the students sit. You've got the table here where students probably sit too. You got the teacher's desk here and some cubbies and bookshelves. They've got a sink, which makes me really jealous because I would love to have one of those in our classroom. But, alas, we've got to make do with what we got. So this is a really nice setup, though. I really like it. And we're going to use it to answer the next 2 questions of our lesson. Okay? Or should I say the first 2 questions of our lesson. Let's look at number 1. Where do students wash their hands after lunch? Okay, do they wash them at the teacher's desk, at the sink, or at the computer table? Okay, we can look all around this classroom. You've got the teacher's desk and the regular desks and the table and the sink and bookshelves and all that stuff. But where would we wash our hands after lunch? Really think about that. Okay, after you've got the answer, make sure you are circling the right choice, whichever one it is. If you're doing this in Google Classroom, you should notice a red circle over here that you could just move over your answer. Okay? Go ahead and take your time on that, though. Again, as usual, don't worry if you need to pause the video. I will not mind. But I'm going to go ahead and move on. And we're going to look at number 2. Okay? Number 2. Where would you sit to hear a story? Why? Now, there is one particular answer I'm looking for here, and we're going to look back at our map. Okay. The thing is, in our class, we actually heard stories in a couple different spots. So when we were doing it from our class, we would either read at our desks, at a rug, sometimes we'd go to the table together. But there's one particular place that they're looking for. All right. And I need you guys to not only tell me where that would be, but also why it would be. So I'm going to give you the answer as to where it would be, but I want you guys to come up with why it would be. Okay? So where would you sit to hear a story? Well, we would all sit on the rug. Okay? Because this is a nice little meeting spot. It's kind of like how we would do our morning meetings, just to go over reading or go over our lessons for the day. Go over our calendar and stuff like that. So we would sit on the rug to hear a story. All right? But tell me, why would we sit here? Okay? I might have just given you a couple of answers. If you want to take some of my answers, that's fine. But tell me, in your own words, why would we meet at the rug to hear a story? Okay? Okay. Go ahead and take another second or 2. I'm going to go ahead and move this worksheet out of the way. All right. Let's go ahead and look at the next worksheet for geography. And again, this is a classroom, a map of a classroom rather, and you'll see that it looks very similar to the other map we just had. It's got the teacher's desk, the regular desks, the table, the rug, the sink, all of that stuff. So if you are doing this in Google Classroom, you'll notice there's a bunch of X's probably around your map somewhere that you are going to be placing on this map. But if you're doing this at home, our first activity with this worksheet is going to be circle places where students do their work. Okay? There's a couple different places we could circle. Think about where we would do our work in the classroom. Okay? Think about where we wouldn't do our work in the classroom. I'm going to give you a freebie answer right now. Let's look at cubbies. Now, I know we really didn't have cubbies in our classroom too much, but would a cubbies area be beneficial for trying to do our work? No. There wouldn't be any place to sit. There'd barely be any room to write on anything. We'd all be crowded there. So no, we would not be using the cubbies to do our work. Okay? So you're going to circle as many of the spots as you can. If you circle desks, though, you don't need to circle all of the desks, okay? You only need to circle one because it's the same thing, so that'll count as one answer, okay? But there's a few choices here that you can circle, all right? Then let's go ahead and move on to question 2. It says, what is in your classroom that is not on this map? Draw a picture. And if you're doing this at home, I definitely want you to draw a picture in this space right here of stuff that we have in our class that isn't on this map, okay? If you're doing this in Google Classroom, I know you can't really draw a picture. Instead, I want you to list 3 items that you'd find in our class that you wouldn't find here, okay? So again, you're going to be circling places where students work, and then you're either going to be drawing a picture of things that are in our classroom but aren't on this map, or you're going to be listing 1, 2, 3 things that you'll find in our class. All right. And while you are doing that, I'm going to move on. Okay. And this is our day 1 activity for economics, or rather this is just the first start of our economics lesson. Okay. We're going to look at this picture, we're going to read the text right here, and then we're going to answer the questions the best that we can. And our passage here is called Wants and Needs. Okay. We all need things. We need food and clothes. We need air and water and a place to live. We need these things to live. Sometimes we want things. We want toys and special clothes. We want our favorite things to eat and drink. These things help make us happy. Okay, so before we get to the questions down below, let's talk about our wants and our needs. Can you think of any needs that you currently have? Okay, I think the passage does a really good job telling us, we need clothes, we need food, we need air and water. What else do we need? Do we need medicine if we get sick? Do we need a bed to sleep on? Do we need to be able to take a bath or a shower? Yeah, those sound like some pretty important things that we need. Okay. Now, need is something that we absolutely should have access to at all times. It should be available to us at all times. But let's talk about wants. Wants are not nearly as important as needs. Okay. I'll give you a prime example of a want. Okay. I want a bigger TV. Okay. Do I need a bigger TV? No. Do I want a bigger TV? Yes. If I have a small TV, is that going to stop me from eating or breathing or having a place to live? No, not at all. If I have a smaller TV, it's not going to stop any of that stuff that I need. A want is basically just something you can get by without. Okay? So think about like your PlayStation or your Xbox, Netflix. Think about the Barbie doll that you might have. Think about those special Spider-Man shoes or those Mario shoes or those Descendants shoes that you might want. Okay? Those are wants. Those are things that you can get by without. All right? But our wants make us happy. So think about that the next time you say, I need something or I want something. Okay? With that all out of the way now, let's go ahead and look at our 2 questions. Okay? It says, circle 2 things that are wants. Okay, and our choices are toys, games, and air. What are 2 things that we want? Okay, think about what we need, what helps us live, and think about what makes us happy. Okay, the stuff that makes us happy are our wants. Okay, and then number 2, based on the text, why must we get all our needs? Okay, our choices are: they make us unhappy, we can't live without them, and they cost us money. I'm going to read the question again. Based on the text, why must we get all our needs? Why are our needs so important? Okay, think about that when you answer this question. It's a really, really good question too. So I'm really interested to see what you guys do with this worksheet, because this brings up some pretty interesting information and pretty interesting ideas, especially given the time the times that we're in right now. So think about your wants, think about your needs, and I look forward to seeing how we explore this stuff in the next lesson. But for now, that's going to wrap it up for our social studies for this week. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns with social studies, with science, with any topic for that matter, please reach out through Class Dojo. Please reach out through Flipgrid. Do whatever you got to do. Just let me know, so that way I can help out as much as I can. Otherwise, yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys in the next lesson. Stay strong, stay positive, keep up the good work.